So this is a story called Escape of the Butterfly, which I wrote. Those last few weeks and days seemed an eternity. Not knowing when her last breath would come, a small part of me wished she would hold on forever, while the other part of me wished the end would come sooner rather than later, so she would be spared a slow, painful death. Terminal, that's an odd choice of words. We are all terminal to some degree. Some of us just have more days left than others. It was incomprehensible to me that she had so few. So I spent every moment I could with her. In the beginning, we whiled away the hours watching old movies and home decorating shows, as we often did throughout the years. Like kids, we watched the same movies again and again, anticipating and laughing at the same lines, and sniffling and handing out tissues when our heartstrings were pulled once more by the same scenes. We were joined in so many ways, my sister and I, so how could death separate us now? When we could not physically bridge the miles between our respective homes, we would connect by phone. At first, we chattered about the inconsequential, rolling from subject to subject like the ebb and flow of the tide. She was the consummate craftswoman and party planner, so we planned grand Christmas displays, elaborate holiday dinners, and even devised a re-landscaping of my yard. I had always envied the easy way she had of pulling beauty out of ordinary things. Seemingly meaningless and unrelated stuff became objet d'art in her lovely, well-manicured hands. Towards the end, she lapsed into more meditative existence. So we were present together, joined in heart and mind, sharing the same solitude. Strange, it is then that I felt a greater intimacy in our sisterhood. What a gift, I thought, that she had no other need of me than simply me. Somehow we learned to say more in our silence than we ever had with words. At the beginning of those quiet times, I inquired about what she was doing. "Are you sleeping?" I asked. "No," she said simply and softly said. "What are you thinking?" "I'm talking with God. We have much to discuss." "Would you like me to hang up?" I asked, feeling as if I were intruding on some private communion. "No, stay," she said, returning to her divine conference. And stay I did. In her last 2 weeks, she lapsed further into that place where I imagine the dying go to prepare for their final transition. She left us in segments, letting go little by little of her physical existence and slowly donning the mantle of pure immortality. Hospice finally called one morning at 5:30 to alert my parents that she was indeed on her way. "They've called," is all my mother said to me on the phone moments later. My heart beat fast and furiously. Adrenaline pumped into my veins, and tears streamed down my face. I threw some clothes into a suitcase while my husband made last-minute reservations to Jersey. Garbled, incomprehensible words tumbled out of me as I willed myself to stay calm and function long enough to board a plane. Would she still be with us when I arrived 6 hours later? I had never wanted to find out. Yet here I was getting ready to do exactly that. In the moment, I figured the "I love yous" we traded last night were our last. They were the only words we had spoken to each other in 2 weeks. I have thought of that fortnight as my own transitioning of sorts. Where to exactly, I don't know. But as she closed that last door that Friday morning, a part of me was changed fundamentally. Like the months before her death, the time it took to get to her that day seemed like its own eternity, but a calm settled over me during the last leg of my flight. An angel with comforting words was sent to me, disguised as a fellow traveler, in the plane seat beside me, and I landed with a resolve and a peace that came from some place deep within me. Even as my husband gave me the news of her departure, tranquility remained. At the hospital, I rode the elevator up to her floor for the last time. I was struck by the normalcy of the activity in the hallways. At the threshold of her room, the absence of her was blatantly conspicuous, like the atmosphere I had breathed forever had chemically morphed. Her essence that I had become so acquainted with in our time of solitude was no longer present. I paused and languished for a moment in that new existence. It was the first since my birth when I had no experience of her in my midst. With a deep breath, I propelled myself forward, sliding aside the drape that once separated her from her roommate. She seemed stuck on inhale, only her shell remaining. The butterfly had escaped its chrysalis. I knelt beside the bed and took her lovely hand in mine. Her fingers were still slightly warm and ever so soft. Those hands that had molded the mundane into magnificence. Those same hands that had tied pretty ribbon around love letters from a special bow. The hands that had remained clasped on her lap as she talked with God. I held them to my cheek, trying to breathe her in once more and keep some of her for myself till the end of my days. In segments, I too let go. In the days and weeks that followed, my grief took over me like a permeating fog. My world was clouded by my sadness. Awakening each day felt like running against a mountainous mudslide that threatened to overtake me and bury me beneath its weight. So let's put a pin in that for now. I often dreamt of my sister. Like actors cast in a sequel, we appeared in scenes of my imagination's making. One night, though, it was different. My dream progressed as usual, like a big screen drama filmed in Technicolor. Suddenly, I was standing in a room awash with bright light, and I saw her face appear in a diamond-shaped window of a door right in front of me. Then, as if in a science fiction movie, she dematerialized right through the door and rematerialized right in front of me. No longer was I a fly on the wall watching myself act in my own movie. She and I were together again, face to face. The essence I no longer felt on the threshold of her hospital room months before now permeated my senses. And my skin flushed with joy. The air seemed warm and familiar. "You're here," I said. "I've been right here all along," she replied. The familiar ring of her voice was like music to my ears. I stepped into her open arms. We lingered in our embrace, sharing the same blessed solitude once more. Again, I breathed her in, hoping to keep some small part of her till the end of my days. Time stopped for just a moment, and she and I touched eternity. Ever so slowly, she began to dematerialize again. In a moment's panic, I choked out, "Don't go." She looked at me and she said, "I am always, always by your side." And then she vanished from sight. I awakened what seemed like seconds later, tears of joy streaming down my face. I shook my husband awake, my skin riddled with goosebumps. "She was here," I said, smiling through my tears, "and she never left me." Now I know there will be some of you who will say it was only a dream, but sure as I know, I now have pen in hand recounting this story. I know it was real. In that awakening that morning, my concept of death changed. Terminal, the doctor called her condition, and an ending was what I expected and experienced those first dark, dark days. Yet my sister taught me in her appearance that night and in subsequent days that life is indeed eternal. What we know as dying is merely a progression to another plane. Yes, the butterfly had escaped its chrysalis, but like a butterfly gently alights upon a flower's petal, my sister tiptoed into my dream and alighted for a few precious moments in my arms. Now at times I experience her essence in my home, precisely as if she were in the room, flesh and bone. Other times she sits with me, wrapped in my cat's fur, or she dances on the notes of a familiar song we love to sing together. My spirit has known and sought hers since the day of my birth, and we will continue communion for eternity. So this thing, grief, I have learned through all my loss is a living, breathing phenomenon. And I think if you've had enough loss, it's impossible not to have grief simmering somewhere within your being all the time. And it's not a bad thing. So I had to get to the point where I accepted grief as my friend, because man, she was just relentless, and she was here, and she was in me, and she showed her face so many times. I just surrendered and said, okay, I'm tapping out. Let's just be friends, because you're always here. You're always here. And when I accepted her as a friend, something to benefit me, something to benefit my heart, and to help me move through my days with those that I love and that are not here still in physical expression, life got a little more manageable in moments, graceful in moments. Sometimes it was still messy. Sometimes I was still curled up in a fetal position crying because I just wanted to hug my sister one more time and feel her skin against mine and to feel the strength of a hug. But maybe my dream again. Hopefully I'll have that dream again. And I think we have to find, if we're going to have peace, a place to just have grief walk with us all the time and not equate that with a bad day or something we don't want or something we want to resist and stick somewhere where we can't see it or feel it. Because then too many of my days are going to be painful and bad, and that's unacceptable. So if I just had this insight. Thank you, Spirit. So if I accept grief as a part of life, like I accept God as the underpinning of my life, always there no matter what else is happening, then I'm good. So grief's not an ugly, terrible thing we want to rush through and have it end until it rushes back. I'm not having that experience. So sometimes grief is this little current that's just there, and I feel it, and I'm aware that I'm missing a particular person in my life, a particular loved one I'm missing at the moment, and grief is there, kind of tapping at me, and I say, oh, hello, you're there. I'm missing my mom, I'm missing my dad right now, I'm missing my grandmother, and I'm good. And sometimes grief is a 2x4 that knocks me on my head, makes me run to my bed, throw the covers over my head, and then I can scream in my pillow and lament that I just want my dad to hold me and look in my eyes and tell me everything's okay. And he's not going to be able to do that. And then when I'm done, 5 minutes, 5 hours later, whatever it is, I get up and I continue, because that's just life. So God is life, grief is life, it's all life. And when we need our emotions, let's have our emotions and do that. So yesterday, as we honored Mike and his life and the love that we have for him, sometimes we think that once we have the service, we're done, and it's time to get on with life. Well, hasn't happened yet. In fact, I think the journey starts when service ends, because then most people are going back to their lives then, and we're left with what is now there, which is quiet and grief and pain and this figuring out what that new existence is. So after I had no longer had that experience of my sister's energy with me in that hospital room, I had to figure out how to breathe without her here. She's 4 years older than me. She was always there until she left. She was 52, I was 48. I didn't know how to breathe without her. I didn't expect that the air was going to change when she died. It did for me. It felt like some element that's on the chart was suddenly gone, ripped off. Because I had always had her. So now, how do I breathe? How do I breathe this air? How does my body adjust to this new kind of air without her in my breath? And I figured it out. And it was ugly some days. The first couple of months were really, really ugly because I didn't want to breathe without her. I did not want to breathe without her. So I laid in bed until I figured it out. And then I figured out how to get up, get dressed, and do a couple of things in the house and breathe and do that. And then the next day I figured out how to do a little bit more with that new air that I perceived. And then I learned how to do that. And now I still do. So in this moment, I feel her all over me reading that story. And so I have a little bit more of her today. But I still know that the air is different than when she was physically here. And so I'm carrying her with me in a new way, and I had to figure out what that was. And I think as each loved one transitions, we got to figure it out again. Because life is different without them. The universe has shifted. It has shifted. Because now their body is somewhere else. So it is different. Our brains are different. Our brains, there's a great book, I think it's, what is the name of that book? Something about the brain and death. That the brain now has to shift and it has to have new neural pathways because something has physically changed and it now has to recalculate how to help you live in this new physical experience. So there is something that is physically different for us. So our hearts not only have to adjust, this has to adjust. And they probably don't adjust together. And the adjustment's probably not pretty because we know how it is, right? We know how it is trying to adjust to this new existence. Grief is here. Grief is here. Grief is staying. But grief is not bad. Grief is natural. Grief is a part of life. And it's not just deaths that we grieve. When you change jobs, when you retire, when you move to a different house, you grieve that. When you lose a relationship, if you get divorced, or you stop seeing someone you've been dating for a while, you grieve what there was, or you grieve the dreams you had together or something. All the things that will shift in life because you now have this new existence without something you had before. You can lose a keepsake and grieve. When a pet dies, we grieve. When a pet gets sick, we grieve. When we get sick, we grieve. When I got my diagnosis, I grieved because I wanted my life before that doctor uttered those words to me. I didn't want that to happen. I want my life back, pre-diagnosis. What is that? And life just said, not getting that. So I said, okay. All right, Spirit, let's figure out my new life here, but I had to grieve what I had before, pre-diagnosis. And now I'm living differently with this new existence, with this new body that I have, this new vibrancy that I'm creating and bringing forth. And sometimes I still grieve Kim pre-diagnosis. Because that was a life where I'm just humming along thinking, everything's groovy. And then the brakes went on in that doctor's office. And he said, oh, wait a minute, speed bump. Speed bump. So that's what we got, folks. That's what we got. And so this community now will be figuring out what is life like without Mike physically here. I'll warn you now, there might be some Sundays I stand up to speak, and it hits me because I don't see his face. I don't know how long. That may go on for as long as I'm here. I don't know. We'll see. Because we don't know what the road is. We just keep taking a step at a time, a step at a time. And I think that's our journey with grief, a step at a time, a step at a time. Just like with any other thing that we're presented with, just move forward another step. Take a deep breath, take a step, take a deep breath, take a step. And maybe with the step we say, I can do this. Because I'm an infinitely powerful spiritual being. And everything I need in each step is here within me. Everything. I know that on a different level now, post-diagnosis. Take a step and breathe. Affirm what you know. So you got to know what you know. And you got to know it like it's in the marrow of your being, so that when you need it to call it up, it's there. So we got to affirm it, we got to live it, we got to breathe it every day. When it's easy, when the road is smooth and you're feeling groovy, and then when something comes and smacks you and you go, oh, crap, speed bump, hurdle, brick wall, whatever we're going to call it, you can bring it back up. Feel what you feel when you hit the speed bump, when the hurdle smacks you in the face, when you got pieces of rock from the brick wall in your teeth, because you hit it really hard, and you're picking the stuff out of your teeth, and you're saying, I'm an infinitely powerful spiritual being. I got something for the brick wall. I'll scale it, knock it down, walk around it, dig under it, whatever it is, pass through the wall, and keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And bring whatever that thing is as a facet of your life, a facet, not your life. Just like that song, I am light. I am not my skin, I'm not the things, I'm not my family, what my family did, I'm not my mistakes, I'm not my diagnosis, I am not this grief, I am experiencing grief. I am not the sadness, I am not the darkness, I am not that death. I am not my losses. I am light. I am light. I am light. Let's take this in a meditation. So let's just breathe, 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 breathe. Breathe. Breathe, breathe. Breath is life. Life is breath. We are light. We are always light. We are always, always, always light. the light is our glory, our power, our majesty. We are light. We are light. So whatever it is you're hanging on to, whatever it is that is stuck in your craw, that makes you scream, that frustrates you, it's nothing compared to your light. It's nothing compared to your light. Your light, the light that is God, is infinite. As infinite as the cosmos. We are infinite beings, equipped with everything we ever need, that we desire. We are light. And so in the moments of confusion and sadness, we just need to get still. Remember the light. Remember God. Be still and know. It all comes back to be still and know that I am God. It's the answer to everything. Be still and know I am God. Just be still. Just be still and know I'm God. I am God. I am here. I am you. I am in your grief. I am in your sadness. I am in your loneliness. I am in your helplessness. And if you'll sit with me long enough, you will no longer feel helpless or lonely or less than. You will no longer be hungry for love because you will know you are love. And love is overflowing into your life, shall overflow into your life when you open your arms wide. You will know you are everything. And that you and I are not just inextricably connected, but that we are the same thing. You are light. I am light. We are light. We are light. Let's take a deep breath together. And in your heart of hearts, say, I am light. And exhale. Inhale, I am light. Exhale, I am light. Breathe in, I am light. Exhale, I am light. I am light, I am light, I am light. So it is, and so it shall be. Amen.